like streams of joy. Cash register beeps, metal clanks, impatience in my veins pangs. Give me my cup of chaos, no time for polite applause. Lost in this Starbucks maze, craving those simpler days.
differs wildly from one person to the next. That's a top-down problem in many respects. Disney's sequel trilogy was a jumbled mess. Even its various creators couldn't agree on where the story was going. This is true. Let alone what this new revived version of Star Wars ought to become. I'm still baffled that Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams and the rest of the sequel trilogy shot callers didn't come up with a coherent 3-movie story from the get-go. Do you remember this? They were literally making it up as they went along. Do you remember this? They admitted to making it up as they went along. Why? For movies that cost so much money, why on earth would you do that? Like, that's a managerial... it's just managerial cancer, isn't it? Like, why would you do that? It's just nonsense. It's one of the greatest unforced errors of modern cinema. So much potential squandered as a Star Wars fan since far back as I can remember. It's just another heartbreaker. But hey, somehow Palpatine returned. I love that. Somehow Palpatine returned. Like, for fuck's sake. Disney launched its streaming service, Disney Plus, and loads of shows. But they say this: the Force divided. And again, this is very neutral. I like this. I think this is a really well put together article. Since then, it's been a pretty mixed bag, and that's putting it mildly. Rise of Skywalker's a mess, a hodgepodge of competing visions that left the fandom deflated. On the streaming side, however, things were a little bit brighter. It didn't last. The Mandalorian had 2 pretty strong seasons, but fell apart in season 3. Book of Boba Fett was a weirdly feckless affair that did little to encourage fans that Disney was a coherent vision for the space opera. True. The show was only partially saved by the arrival of Mando, but even then it undid much of what the Mandalorian's second season set up with Luke Skywalker, effectively just handing Grogu back rather than training him in the ways of the Jedi. It was clear that Disney wasn't interested in taking narrative risks, playing it safe at almost every turn. Then Obi-Wan Kenobi with Ewan McGregor. That was, obviously popular Jedi Master. Wasn't enough story in the series to fill one decent movie. The rest was filler. Young Princess Leia was a massive misfire. That's very true. More's the pity. At least we know she grew up to be one of the most awesome characters in all of Star Wars. This is true. And then we have this. Ahsoka had its moments, but the only moments were Rey. Not that one. The good one. The chap. I can't remember his character's name anymore. But, yeah. Anyway. Dave Filoni's attempt to make the leap from Rebels to Clone Wars to live action never quite worked. Something was lost in translation. Only Andor really stuck the landing. I agree. Because it had incredible writing. You see, I like this. I like the cut of this guy's jib. He knows what he's talking about. But it was headier stuff than many Star Wars fans were accustomed to and many past. Cassian Andor is a minor figure in the big scheme of things. And there were no Jedi, no lightsabers, no Sith. It was a masterpiece, a diamond in the rough, but not necessarily a crowd pleaser. This is true. No new movies, and then we get to the Acolyte points. So it's little wonder that the Acolyte has now been so divisive. It's made my own feelings about the show well known. I'm one of the few critics out there who finds it incredibly bland and poorly written. Fans, on the other hand, have taken to Rotten Tomatoes and social media, and many are unhappy. The way the culture wars have taken root in pop culture, the debate around the Acolyte has become, shall we say, fraught. The fandom menace? ? That's not a thing anymore. Even on IMDb, the audience scores reflect a growing disenchantment with Star Wars, where the Acolyte has a meager 3.3 out of 10 rating. Does it deserve this lower score, or a 13% user score on Rotten Tomatoes? In stark contrast to its 85% critic score. And I like this. He says probably not. He says I rate it somewhere around the same quality as Boba Fett or Obi-Wan. Quite poorly, in other words, but not necessarily any worse than that witch chant takes the cake for cringiest Star Wars moments since Disney took over. This is not necessarily a reflection of the Acolyte's quality in a vacuum, however. This is the result of years of growing apathy and dismay. I will agree with this to a degree, although I do think it is... I mean, it is arguably worse than Obi-Wan and Boba Fett, I think, personally. These super low scores, following a flood of reviews, over 25,000 on Rotten Tomatoes, far more than most Star Wars shows, is referred to as review bombing, and that's a fair description. But I think review bombing has a place in modern online culture. I don't believe it's entirely trolls giving the show bad reviews. I don't think it's just a bunch of racists and sexists either. Sure, they're out there, and they certainly make their unpleasant views known. This is true. Nor do I think we should simply write off these reviews as dishonest or politically motivated. For many of us, There is simply a sense that the Star Wars we knew and love, or have loved for decades, since we were but young Padawans, has been utterly changed for the worse by people who don't understand or appreciate what made this franchise great to begin with. Do you see, he does know what he's talking about. You know, this is a mainstreamer from a very big website that does, you know, he knows what he's talking about, and he's, I guess you could say, on our side, as it were. Frankly, this sense of crushing disappointment has been with me since long before the House of Mouse got its greedy mitts on Star Wars. The prequels were a huge letdown. Perhaps the greatest letdown I've ever felt at the movie was The Phantom Menace. Worse, George Lucas' edits to the original trilogy remain, in my humblest of opinions, a uniquely terrible tragedy of meddling and arrogance. I'll agree with that. The fact that I can't watch the original trilogy on a 4K Blu-ray disc makes me horribly, unreasonably sad. I discuss more of this and why I think fans would welcome diversity and strong female protagonists in Star Wars if only Disney took a radically different and, dare I say, radically more lucrative approach in a newsletter. For now, we can only hope, blah, 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 Lucasfilm pays more attention, blah, blah. So basically, you know, he's completely right, and he's completely, again, I don't want to say our side, because, you know, is it our side? It's just common sense. You can't keep beating people into the dirt and then expecting them to be like, yeah, this is fine. Like, no. At a certain point, people snap, right? And then people sort of, I guess the amount that they will give leeway to snaps as well. But I do like this article. I think it's good. And it's interesting to watch the sort of schizophrenia at Forbes play out, when one posts a good article lambasting people for their reviews, then another posts an article going, no, these are justified. It's very, very comical stuff. You should keep an eye on Forbes. It's very, very fun. Anyway, do hit subscribe if you're new here, guys. Turn the bell notifications on. Drop your thoughts down below. I just thought this was a bit of fun anyway. But thanks. Take care. Bye-bye now.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, looks like the truth has finally come out regarding the doctor disrespect situation. And I got to tell you, the internet has been exploding over not just this situation, but everything else that's been happening. I mean, all of this happened in literally 24 hours, and it's insane to think about. But apparently, Dr. Disrespect has finally issued his own statement after his AAA studio, Midnight Society, severed ties with him, and unfortunately for him, has admitted that he did indeed send messages to a minor, but he said nothing illegal happened.
And we've got a little bit of an announcement to make right now.
Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, like if you guys have checked out my live streams on Hypnocast every day at 9 p.m. Eastern, I've been talking about this through and through. Crew, and I've had this particular mindset of what I thought happened between him and Twitch, and come to find out it's essentially pretty much like 95% true. The only difference is that he is admitting himself that he did message a minor. Now, I know a lot of people are talking about kind of like the logistics behind it. Did he know what the age of the person was before, before he started doing inappropriate stuff, or did he find out after the fact? For me, none of that really matters at the end of the day. I've said before, and I'll say it again, if he was messaging a minor with any intention whatsoever at all, I mean, or just in general, like, why? I don't know, how old was he at the time? 30 something? I just feel like it's a bad look, my guy. Like, it's not exactly the thing you want to be doing, if you catch my drift. And as a grown-ass man, messaging a minor puts you as a public figure, someone who's massive on the internet, or just in general, really, in a really bad spot. So we're going to go over his statement, guys. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. And then like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So again, ladies and gentlemen, the initial allegation came from Cody Connors. And I still, to this day, even with the information that we now know to be true from Dr. Disrespect's own statement, I will say that Cody Connors is an absolute piece of dog shit, because he has tried to profit off of this information multiple times. You are not going to sit there and claim moral virtue when you're trying to make money off of a situation like this. That is a ridiculous thing, and I'm not going to let that slide for Mr. Cody Connors. Now let's go over Dr. Disrespect's actual statement, because this statement is very important. He says, everyone has been wanting to know why I was banned from Twitch, but for reasons outside of my control, I was not allowed to say anything for the last several years. Now that 2 former Twitch employees have publicly disclosed the accusations, I can now tell you my side of the story regarding the ban. Now, I find it very interesting, that particular statement right there. So this proves that there was, in fact, an NDA in place. There was some sort of gag order in place regarding this entire situation. And with the revelation of this coming from 2 former Twitch employees, that was all that was needed in order to void the NDA, or void the actual gag order between everybody being unable to talk about it. So somebody took the risk and violated an NDA, because if Dr. Disrespect couldn't say anything until 2 other people decided to say something, that proves that there was something there that was stopping everybody from saying something. So I wonder if the ones who did say something, which is probably Cody in this sense, is going to get sued royally, probably by Twitch, to be honest with you, because they're the ones who probably initiated the NDA with everybody. And then it says, were there Twitch messages with an individual minor back in 2017? The answer is yes. Were there...
Good morning, my friend. Good morning, my friend. What the hell is that?
Howdy. How do you do today?
I'm doing pretty good. That mirror still creeps me out.
Don't try to make Mona here.
I don't wanna. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. You just leave me alone.
Yeah, she just ran on.
Leave me alone. Alright, let's go. No, Lisa's taking care of Laura right now.